Hi guys, welcome back to Flipping Motors UK. This Saturday I just wanted to do a little short video really. I've got the house to myself, my girlfriend's away for the weekend, so just thought I'd crack on, get a bit of work done, a few bits around the house and try and get a video up if possible. It's still really slow, nothing really happening. I know it isn't me, it's not just me. Every single person I spoke to that sells budget cars like myself is in exactly the same position. Anthony from the car sales community, a couple of lads around the corner there, they're exactly the same, not shifting anything apart from what they call borderline scrap, cars I wouldn't sell to the public anyway. And I mean, there's a few lads in Darlington where I'm based saying exactly the same. You've got Lee from Car UK, he's down in Cheshire. He absolutely smashes it month in, month out. He's had his pitch open for about, nearly 2 years maybe, year and a half, and he's never not overachieved his target. This month he missed out, and I'll be honest with you, from what he said in his video, I think it's only to do with probably more so cars he'd already sold that he was fighting to prepare for sale. Then you've got the likes of some of the bigger dealerships in the northeast, or Redgate Lodge. I was talking to Anthony the other day and he said he obviously sells 150 odd cars a month, 200 cars a month. He was 50 cars off target. So there's something not right at the moment, whether it's the holidays, what's going on in the world, people's financial situation, I don't really know, but it's gone pretty quiet. There is obviously a few exceptions, but I think typically most dealerships are quiet. Anyway, the little Ecoboom. So the sales may be quiet, but I can tell you now the preparation isn't. So all the cars are fully prepared. Volvo and that's still here. Got a few cars outside. I'll quickly show you. It is quite windy. Exactly the same. They've hardly moved. I've pretty much added another space. So the K is outside now. Astra Estate's still here. McGann. So it smells gorgeous, by the way. I think it's on Chinese. And then the Clio as well. Getting a little bit of interest on them, but there's not enough happening to be, making much money or anything at the moment. I've given the place a tidy up, so it has had its benefits, a lot better than it was, believe it or not. But yeah, and today I've finished this little Fiesta Ecoboost. It's all ready for sale now. 1,200 plus the fees, 1,500 quid. Surely there's plenty of profit. There's got to be over £1,000 in that, hasn't there? All green on the report. Well, let's have a little look at my sum. So I've wrote it down on this car, and it's not looking too good. So we've got purchase price, 1,500 quid. Collection, 40 quid. Wet belt replacement, £800, which it did need in the end. I was a bit uncertain, so I just did it. Then we found out it needed a water pump at £63. Broke one of the coolant pipes at £37. Suspension arm and labour, £113. £16 for a set of number plates. And I always charged myself a tenner for a valet. So it owes me £2,587. The retail price for this car today is about £3,100. I was trying to undercut that, so it might be 2,995, 2,850, 2,950, something like that. And I mean, let's face it, if your cars aren't cheap when there's an out going on, you're not going to sell anything, are you? At least have them cheap enough. But the issue we've got here, where's the profit? There is none. So this wet belt replacement has absolutely crippled me on this one. If it wasn't for that, we could potentially have £1,000 profit in the car and potentially even sell it off a little bit cheaper. I mean, after all, the car does have full service history. But yeah, so I've had to fork out for my first wet belt. The other two Ecoboosts I've sold, they were already done and they were driving fine. To be fair, it's cleaned up well. Really nice, tidy car. Half leather interior, heated seats, Sony stereo with Bluetooth. It's the 125 brake horsepower model, so a bit higher up. Electric folding mirrors, electric windows all around, privacy glass. Do like the half leather, that's a nice selling point on these. It is, of course, a facelift model on a 13. You've got front and rear parking sensors. A good sized boot. The Fiesta is a great package, isn't it, for a car? Such a shame about these troublesome engines, but I bought it, so I'm going to have to stand by it and, hopefully sell it. Keyless as well, to start and to enter the vehicle. Really nice car. What we're going to do now is have a little look under the bonnet. like I say, I mean, this £800, including genuine Ford parts and labour, is pretty good overall, I'd say. And the guys that do it, they do loads, to be fair. They are super, super quick. Based in Darlington. £800 for the trade. Like I say, it might be a little bit more for a member of the public. But, yeah. There it is. I've given the engine bay a quick clean over, as I always do. Replace the coolant, replace the oil, all genuine as well. This is a coolant pipe that broke. So I think they've revised it, actually. It's a less brittle material. Car's got a Bosch battery, obviously do all my levels. Yeah, and obviously it's all been serviced as well. Changed all the oil. There you go, nice and clean in this one. And there should be enough oil in it anyway. Shouldn't really have to check this, but yeah, all brand new. Okay, so I'll try and get that back in. So the timing belts, what is the issue with them? So essentially, it's a wet belt system, isn't it? So the belt is submerged in oil, which over time, typically if not using the right oil, but in some cases it seems to just decide to break up eventually anyway. The edges of the belt start to fray, little bits of shrapnel come out and eventually start to clog up things like the oil galleries, the strainer, and potentially as things get further, what this car had done is basically it was so close to the turbo. What you find is there's a little mesh filter in the throttle body side, the throttle body off this one, and sure enough there's tiny little bits of that timing belt blocking that filter. If this car had been run for much longer, it's probably going to take the turbo with it and potentially the engine, so it's a good job I had it done when I did. Potentially it may have been done at some point. So I had that in mind as well. Just not everyone knows to clean the little filter behind the throttle body. Obviously, everyone checks the sump and so on, which I think it takes several hours just to take it apart to be able to check that. But I just had a bit of doubt in my mind. I'd been driving about in it for a little while and it was doing fine. But I think I did decide to get it done at just the right time. So yeah, the mechanic showed me the belt and it was starting to fray slightly around the edges. Probably was a bit more life in the belt. Had it ever been changed? I'm not too sure, to be totally honest. But I tell you what, I'm glad it did. Because if I hadn't, like you say, I could be forking out for an engine. And I mean, even if I break even on this car or make a couple of £100, there'd be no chance of that if it needed an engine. And I have to say, this quote that I paid for £800 for, to be fair, most people are more 1,200 to 1,500. So I think I got a cracking deal there, especially with them using Ford parts. And like I say, these guys do a couple a day generally, so they know what they're doing. They like the bigger jobs like that, so I was quite happy for them to work on it. And they've done a great job. Should be a good selling point for the car. It has got full service history and a brand new timing belt and water pump. But, I mean, is it the cars? There's obviously a big thing about these at the moment. A wet belt is not the greatest idea, but several engines still use them, including like the new Transits and Rangers. I think you have revised the 1 litre Ecoboost, so it's only a belt for the oil pump, not the timing side of it. But, I mean, I was thinking there, like, is it a fault? Because, I mean, you think this car's a 13 plate, with 110,000 miles, we'll say, something like that. If that's not had a timing belt, whether that's a wet belt system or a dry rubber belt that's not submerged in oil, it should have been replaced anyway. VW, up until recently, were telling customers to replace the timing belts at 5 years or 100,000 miles, or 110,000 miles, I think it was. This car's way exceeded the age on that. I think Ford's on some of the 2 litre diesels, I can't remember if they're 7, 8 or 10 years. Well, this is a 13 plate. It's 12 years old, believe it or not. It's a cracking looking car for that age. But, I mean, you'd replace that belt anyway, wouldn't you? The Volvo, I think they're every 7 years on these. That's a 1.6 diesel engine, that one. Also used in the Fords. So whether or not it's a wet or a typical dry rubber belt system, it's going to need replacing eventually. Yes, I know there's been some issues of doing it a lot prematurely, but if this is its first wet belt, I tell you what, it's not done too bad. A lot of people, including like your likes of, I know the most followed person by my followers is Lee from Car UK, so a lot of you probably watch his content as well. He would not touch one of these. He wouldn't touch one. Okay, I've had a couple. What do you look for? So obviously this one, eventually it was lack of power. Obviously it was close. What it does is the system shuts the turbo down to try and prevent damage. Obviously if you carried on, it would potentially cause some major trouble anyway. So that's one thing you look for. You can't really check your sump. It takes hours to get to, I do believe, but obviously potentially checking it behind the throttle body. Have a little look at the mesh. Make sure there's no bits of rubber stuck in there. Make sure the oil pressure light's not flashing. Obviously, you're looking for full power, any poor running issues. But I mean, if it was really bad, just check like the. It's not likely, but check the oil dipstick. Check under the oil filler cap. Is just any little signs of tiny little bits of shrapnel in there? It's not likely that they would end up on them, like they would deposit on the oil cap or the dipstick. But I mean, it's worth a check, isn't it? So that's one potential way. And then obviously, the other way that I found is a lot of people, when they do replace these, they'll chop the exhaust. I'm not so sure this one has been. Oh yeah, it has. You can see it's been welded up. So what happens is quite often you end up with a little blow if someone's ended up doing that from the flexi area. Just looking for little advisories on the MOT for things like that. That's what I did with the last two I bought, and guess what? Do you know what? It worked. I bought these cars, I got them cheap because no one wants an Ecoboost, and sure enough, guess what? Being advised on the exhaust, and there was a sticker under the bonnet that it's been done. So, fantastic. I'm really, really happy with that. But yeah, this car didn't have that advisory, and guess what? It probably hasn't had a wet belt also. So I've ended up having to use most of my profit on it. But the main question now is, if my parents or my sister says to me, quite fancy a Fiesta Ecoboost, a Fiesta and a 1 litre turbo engine, or a Focus and a 1 litre turbo engine, would I be screaming and shouting to stop them? No. Honestly, I wouldn't. It's a timing belt. You can get 800 quid. A typical timing belt, it might be 400, 500, 600. So it's not really that much more. I mean, the 800 I've paid, you might not be able to do that down south. I don't know. But they're not that bad. When I was working at the main dealerships, I had a bloke try and trade one in, right? It was a Focus. And it 1 litre Ecoboost estate. He did 40,000 miles a year easy. I think it was on a 14 plate or something like that. And it had 280,000 miles. Yes, it had a timing belt at some point, but I think it was like 289,000 miles or something. It can't be that bad, can it? So if you are looking for these, I'd say make sure, number one, it's been well looked after. If possible, try and get one a little bit low mileage, potentially 70, I'd say up to about 90,000. And if you are buying one with over 100,000 miles like this, make sure the belt's been done by someone reputable. And to be fair, I mean, yeah, I know Lee's mentioned about the coolant pipes. That's 30 quid. I'm not really that bothered about that. you know, obviously your typical service in your spark plugs, your auxiliary belts, your air filters and that. I mean, as long as it's been looked after, I wouldn't let it put me off buying one or a family member. Just because of this engine, people have heard all the bad press in that. It seems to be that the cap value is a lot lower on these than it is a 1.25 of a 1.4 petrol diesel, 1.5, 1.6 diesels. I don't think they're that bad, yeah. As long as you can find one that's had the right work done, typically I don't think they're that bad from my personal experience of working on cars previously. And obviously I've sold a couple of these and I've not heard back off them. The people, I mean, one of them, the most recent one I sold was a 64 plate that had done 90k and it had the belt done. Guy came for it, and guess what? He wouldn't buy anything. I think he'd bought his daughter one, and then his son wanted one. And he said, oh, make sure you get 1 litre Ecoboost, they're great. So there's obviously people out there, and they know they're getting a bit of a bargain with them because of a bad press. Me personally, I don't think they're too bad. Do you know what? I might send this car out and it might be full of warranty issues and whatever else. I might be made to look stupid. But in my opinion, if that belt's been done, it's been well looked after. I think they're a great engine because they've got so much power. They drive lovely, and it works really well with the Fiesta in particular, I think. And I mean, this particular one is a Titanium X. Yeah, I think they're a great car, to be honest. This here, if someone wants it, if you tell me you've come off YouTube, give me £2,850 and you can have it. Okay? I mean, a lot of you might have been put off by what other people say on here, but I don't think they're that bad. Anyway, hope you've enjoyed this short video. Sorry I wasn't obviously able to show you all the mechanical findings myself. It's I did pay someone else to do this. I don't really do much mechanical work. But hope you've enjoyed this short video. It might have given you a couple of ideas. Obviously things that you haven't heard before about them. There's plenty of bad press. But let me know in the comments what your thoughts are. Would you have one if it had the relevant work and so on? Because I think they're great, personally. There we go. Obviously, we did change over into 2019 anyway, and this is one of the very early ones, so potentially, well, the ones that are at the foremost of suffering for this issue. But there we go. Let me know what you think in the comments, guys, if you want any more related content. Once I do eventually buy some new cars and I sell a couple, I'll show you them as well. And any further updates will be on a future video, as always. Thanks very much, guys. Hope you enjoyed this short video. Have a lovely weekend. Take care now. Bye-bye.